We're bringing you the first episode of the News Loop podcast. We're two gamers who love to talk about gaming. Alright, so my first thing I wanted to talk about was how World of Warcraft has gone on the Hall of Fame. What do you think of the Gaming Hall of Fame? Yeah. What do you think?
Really?
What do you think about that?
Uh, well, World of Warcraft, I guess it's a good game. It had a lot of popularity, but I always thought the game was boring and grindy. It's not saying much because I suck at MMOs.
Right. Yeah, actually, like a lot of people, I don't know if I told you this already, but there's like a private server that came out. Did I talk about this to you yet?
No.
There's a private server, Nostarius. It's supposed to be like nostalgia combined with some kind of like mystical. That's the name of the server anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, it has like 7,000 people on the server playing at once, which is like
Damn.
2 times the amount that like the highest vanilla server ever had, the original WoW client. When it first came out in like 2004. So it's
Yeah.
like having a huge like leap in popularity. So
That's-
people definitely haven't forgot about that game yet.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's still a lot of people that play it, and I know a few people who are diehards on that game. But
What do you think your favorite game in the well, my mouse is wigging out. Anyway, what do you think your favorite game in the Hall of Fame is? There's like Tetris, Mario, World of
Dig Dug.
Warcraft, Doom.
Oh my god, Dig Dug. Doom's
What is that game? I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever played it.
Oh man, that's a ancient arcade game. You literally dig, and there's monsters on the map, and it's I don't remember how big the maps were. You got to collect different coins or whatever to go on to the next level.
Right. It kind of reminds me of this game. I don't know if you heard about it, but there's like what the Humble Bundle is, right?
Yeah.
So they had one for the Wii U actually. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, they have one. You should check it out. Yeah,
What?
everyone else listening should check it out. They finally decided to make a Humble Bundle for the Wii U and 3DS. There's games for both. It's called the Humble Nindy Bundle, and some of the games on there are actually like really good. Guacamelee is on there. It's a really solid platformer game, very high polish. But there's a game in there called SteamWorld Dig, which actually reminds me of the game you're just talking about. Kind of like a roguelike, kind of dig underground, kill monsters and collect coins and shit.
Kinda, but smaller maps, and you move one block at a time.
Have you heard of SteamWorld Dig though?
I have not.
Yeah, I was trying out a game in that bundle called Sports Ball, and it's like you're two like flamingos, and you can pick like various flamingos, and you have like spears, and you like joust against each other and try to like throw the balls on the hoop. It's a really weird game, but also kind of amusing.
Sounds entertaining.
Yeah, and then yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. They have Bit Trip Runner, a couple different other games. Ollie Ollie is like a skateboarding game in the bundle, and it's like super super hard.
Really?
Have you ever heard of that? No.
No, I haven't heard of too many games on consoles lately. I've been out of the loop.
Right. So what was something you wanted to talk about? What's next?
Well, we have cyber Steam machines. And there's actually two companies that apparently are doing these. One is Dell with their Alienware, and the other one was CyberPower.
Wait, what is the cyber Steam machine?
That's their new that's what they're calling their
So it's just kind of like a low budget computer that has like the essentials to play Steam games?
I wouldn't just necessarily say low budget. It's ranging, the Dell ones from Alienware are $449 to $749, and the CyberPower machines are $499 to $1419.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
They're small though, right?
really small.
Right.
Yeah, the Dell one, well, the Steam Cyber Machine by CyberPower, they designed it more or less like a computer, so you could open it up and swap out the parts if need be, more like a laptop than a desktop, unlike the Steam Cyber Steam Machine by Cyberpower.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. Like it seems like I guess for someone who might be looking to upgrade, get something small might be handy. You think you'd ever get one?
Eh, we'll see how they do. Um, I mean, I guess if you traveled around or whatever, it'd be nice instead of having to
Oh,
haul
that's
your.
right.
Because
Yeah.
I have a 25-pound frickin' monster for a desktop that I'd rather not haul.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like it would be good for, college students going home on vacation and want to bring their gaming with them, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of like the Steam boxes and the machines, so what do you think of the controller, the Steam controller?
I looked at it. I actually don't remember what it looks like off the top of my head right now.
It's kind of like an Xbox controller, kind of has that general feel of it, but instead of like a D-pad and like X, Y, B, and A, it has two kind of like touchpad stylus. No, not
Oh, okay.
stylus, touchpad-y kind of things on there, like a trackpad, yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean it'd be a lot more useful than having two joysticks on them, considering you're going to need a mouse or something like that. So I guess if you had it designed to where it would simulate one of them would simulate a mouse movement.
Yeah, it looks like it has one joystick on the pad, which is very
Yeah.
unusual. But I was looking at it, or like the video, they talk about how the back has like a thing on it, so you don't have to like release your fingers for shooting, which looks interesting. And also, they're planning on integrating it with the keyboard on your computer, so you could type really fast and do everything from your TV, which seems pretty cool to me. But it's just gonna come down to whether people want to pay what is it?
Yeah.
$100. You get a $50 for the controller, and then you also need the Steam Link, right?
Oh yeah.
So it looks
Yeah.
like what the Steam Link does, you set it up with your computer, and then you use the controller to get on it. It's a pretty slick looking device, though. Steam Link.
Yeah, but I mean, it would have to. I don't know. It would. I think it'd have to come down a little bit in price because you can go buy a laptop for $500 and use it for more than just Steam. That has
Right.
the same. That has the same power, especially as these Alienware ones by Dell.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, kind of like what the market is. I know a lot of people like to play games with a controller on Steam, but there isn't too many games which, like, I feel like are super good, made for the controller. I know some games like Batman or, you know,
Yeah, there's very few.
yeah, there's a couple,
Although I've noticed lately that a lot more are getting optimized for controllers
right.
versus if you were to try to go to say the older games for PC, they were not. You couldn't do a controller if your life depended on it with those,
It'd also
unless
be
you had
interesting
third
to
party.
see that if, games like Terraria or something, if they, because you can't play local co-op on Terraria right now on the computer, can you?
I believe you can. No, not on the computer.
Yeah, right. So if
Not
they
on the
made,
same, but you can do local LAN.
that's like another problem, if you're gonna be kind of getting the Steam box or the Steam Link for, those kind of like couch co-op sessions, like you still wouldn't be able to use it, how you wanted maybe. I feel like some people might get drawn into it, like, picturing like, oh, if we get this, we get two controllers, we're gonna like be able to play, split screen or Terraria, on the TV or something. But I don't think it's gonna work like that really.
No. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, they'd a lot more game developers might probably that are releasing on Steam will probably start looking into
Doing stuff
developing them for that for co-op on the
right.
same computer.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm kind of glad to see Steam has definitely become a powerful force in the gaming industry,
Yeah.
expanding now. I remember back in the day when Steam was kind of it's like a thing. All you could play on it was like Counter Strike and Half Life. Did you get it back then? Did you play like those games?
Um. Yeah, I used to play them, but not on Steam.
Yeah, I was looking at the. Do you have much experience playing survival games?
Um.
I know
Quite
you
a
played
bit.
some 7 Days to Die, right?
I have a lot of survival games and hours logged into those types of games. Yes.
So what do you have you looked much into the Ark Survival Evolved where you could ride dinosaurs? It's the top selling game on Steam right now. And I was looking at it on Twitch the other day and it's actually ranked pretty high up there. I think third in viewers.
Really, I saw it on Steam. It had mixed reviews. I didn't really look too much at
Right.
it though.
I saw
I,
that in mixed reviews too, so I was curious to see, I kind of looked down and see what kind of reviews were going, but everyone I saw was blue, that means positive, and now it's
yeah.
actually changed to mostly positive. And I'm
Oh,
I'm kind of surprised actually because I feel like there has been kind of a burnout in the survival community of all these early accesses. But then you see this game like this shoot to the top again. It just makes you wonder if people just really wanted to ride some dinosaurs and they don't care
yeah. Well,
about.
see, that'd be cool. I mean, that'd be the only reason why I would want to play that game. Who wouldn't want to ride a dinosaur, flying
Right.
a pterodactyl?
But do you think that's enough to make you like? I don't know. I don't think that's enough for me right now to put down $25 on the game. It looks pretty good and shows some promise, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
My problem lately with early access games, I mean, you've seen my Steam account. I have a lot of them. Was that a lot of them tend to just drop or disappear, or they just don't do what they promise. And like I loved 7 Days to Die, and it worked really good for me until they got to version 5-ish, and then or Alpha 5, and then I started having a lot of socket thread errors because you can't create single player worlds and stuff like that
Right.
without having internet access.
Yeah.
And like, and
My
there's a couple other ones too that just flopped.
Yeah. My kind of like most of the games that I've kind of invested into, I feel like the developers have kind of taken it somewhere, but a
Hmm.
lot of the times it just feels like it takes so long and like,
Yeah.
sometimes I feel like it's just it's more fun to kind of wait and see where the game goes and purchase it when it's in a, better state than, kind of getting frustrated with the game. Because
Yeah.
by the time it comes out, you're kind of sick of it already. Like that's kind of my experience with Rust. I played it so much when it came out, and now it's probably in a better state than when it was when I played it. But I was just kind of sick of waiting and getting killed by teenagers who cuss me out all the time.
Yeah. I've had that same issues. But there was one game, Space Engineers, that I bought in early access. And in the beginning, they were going really slow with the development because it was only two guys. And then they actually started picking up speed here in the last 6 months to a year. And then
Nice.
they came out with another game called Medieval Engineers.
Oh, I heard about that. Did you ever get that?
Yes, I do have that game. And and they learned a lot from Medieval Engineers, and they're actually updating both their games almost on a weekly basis, and they're adding new content all the time to
What
both.
kind of stuff is being added into Medieval Engineers? Because it looked like a game that I heard the building in it was phenomenal, but from what else I saw about it, it mostly just looked kind of like a generic. Basically, if you take Space Engineers and you make it medieval, is there any kind of like goals or objectives besides
Well,
just making a shiny castle?
yeah, well, right now, like it's still really early access. It's only been out for a few months. Um, and so like they're trying to get all the physics to work first because they that's something that they didn't have is the first thing that they've it's something that they learned is how to do physics in this game. Because in Space Engineers, there's really little physics in space, so they didn't really have to worry about it.
Right.
Um, but in Medieval Engineers, they wanted to make it as realistic as they could, and so then they had to work on the oxygen environments and stuff like that. And so right now they're just trying to polish the game mechanics to get them to a place where it's really good.
I feel like they should do those things before releasing it for people to play, because like I feel like when it's in development, the game should be pretty much
Well,
incorporating features that need feedback. I mean, how much feedback do they need to like make the physics top notch?
well, yeah, no, I understand that. And they did. They actually got it working really well. But there were some bugs and stuff like that, and they released it in alpha, and they released it, telling everybody, hey, these are errors that we're having, and so we need help finding certain bugs and stuff like that. So the alpha was more like it was an open alpha. It was a paid to get in alpha to test out the game, and actually progress on it has been very fast. Like they've started adding mining in there. They got catapults. They got a lot of different stuff that they add in there constantly. And they're always updating it to make sure that they can get it as good as they can, as fast as they can.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about space engineers. So it seems like that game probably should have some promise as well. Definitely for the creatively sandboxy inclined crowd. Have you ever heard of the game? It's called it's a spacefaring game. It's kind of like Minecraft-esque, but in space, and you could build ships that are like huge ships, and you could explore the galaxy. Have you ever heard of that game?
Um, there's a few of them out there. There's Space Engineers is one that's like that. It's kind of a Minecraft-esque game.
Not space engineers. It's like
You also have I thought I saw like NASA, some type of NASA engineers out there. I haven't played that one.
Have you ever played Moonbase Alpha?
It sounds very familiar.
It's this game that basically like only existed for people to create funny meme videos. But yeah,
No.
it's like pretty much if you took like space engineers without the building, and like your whole goal is to connect like pipes and like maintain like a security like space station or something like that. It's ridiculous technical, and like you have to like float around and like repair things. That's like all you do in the game.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, I think it sounds familiar. I don't think I've played it or really seen it.
Sure. So last thing I wanted to talk on my list. Do you have any experience with DayZ, the standalone version?
I freaking detested that game. It was
You
sad.
got it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So apparently I really hated the game as well when I got it. I had high expectations. I remember when I first heard about DayZ, a couple years, 4 or 5 years back actually, I think
Yeah.
now. It was an Arma 2 mod, and I heard about, how revolutionary it was, this whole, and that kind of what springboarded the whole survival revolution. But now, apparently, DayZ, in March, I had 27,000 active players, and now it's down to, I think 7,000. What do you think of that?
It's not really too surprising. I played the DayZ Arma 2 mod, and it was phenomenal. I have hundreds of hours logged into that.
Oh, wow.
And then, but when the DayZ standalone came out, there was a lot of issues. It was buggy. They didn't really fix a lot of issues that plagued the the mod version.
So are you saying that like the Arma 2 version was like better polished and more fun to play than like standalone?
I wouldn't really say it was better polished because it was really glitchy. And there was a lot of issues with it too. But it was a mod, and so people could go in there and they could add their own little mods to help try and clean it up a little bit. But
Right. So the content was like kind of more controlled by the community, which sounds like.
yeah, yeah. As where when they released DayZ the standalone, at the start they said that they're not going to allow private-based servers because they kept saying that was one of the issues, which to a certain extent was some of the issues were really or not issues. Some of the servers were really bad in how they handled everything. There were quite a few good ones though, and
So wait, why don't they want private servers? Isn't that just a way for people to kind of create their own kind of games?
Well, yes, but no, I don't remember the reason off the top of my head that they said that they don't want private servers, but it was something about preventing people from hacking, and they didn't want people abusing the servers and hacking them and using cheats and stuff like that, which happened anyway. And eventually, I believe that they did open it up to private servers, but the damage is already done. And plus, a few months ago, I'll say it was about 6 months to a year ago, the one of the lead developers on DayZ more or less told all the other guys to go fuck themselves because he wants to go work on his own project now that he's made millions of dollars off DayZ, and DayZ wasn't even finished at the time. It's not even, it's not even polished.
Was that Dean
really.
Hall that said that?
I believe so.
That's the guy working on it. I don't know.
Well, there was yeah, there's originally a group of them, and then I don't really know. I kind of fell out of the DayZ world before that ever happened. I just kind of heard about it glancing by.
Yeah, I honestly stopped playing it once it came out and the zombies could go through doors and houses to get you.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I stopped playing it then. Came back, I think 9 months later, it still was happening. I
yeah,
actually have a YouTube video of it, happening. So that
Y-
was just really disappointing.
yeah. And
Did you ever
another,
play H1Z1?
I did not. I heard good things about it though.
Yeah, so H1Z1, I feel like it was kind of like what DayZ, kind of like I kind of expected DayZ to be, but I still think it has some like, I was reading on the one of the subreddits, the H1Z1 subreddit, and people are saying kind of how like the whole formula is kind of like fundamentally flawed. I don't think any of the companies that are making those games, they're kind of, following DayZ's kind of like idea, but they're trying to like implement the ideas a little bit better, but I don't think that any of them are really innovating. Like I still think they need to have some kind of like bandit system where players are like figure out there's no punishment for being like a bandit, in those kind of games. And I think it just creates an environment where people, flock those kind of games to abuse like the system that's in place, like just to, harass or just to, bully people really.
Yeah, that was one of the major issues with DayZ, the mod and standalone was there was no punishment for being a bandit. Actually, there was no incentive to be a good guy because you could be a
Yeah, and that's
hero.
it's interesting because that's like one of the things that developers like stand by the most. Like
Hmm.
the guy who made Rust is like always stands up to say like there should be no like punishment for being like bad in these games.
Well, yeah, and there really shouldn't be, but at the same time, like in DayZ, I can't really speak about the other ones, but like in DayZ, you could be a hero, which if you give blood bags and you heal people so many times, you'll get a hero skin. Whereas if you kill so many people unarmed and whatnot, unprovoked kills, you'll get the bandit skin. And you could look cool running around in the hero skin, but it didn't mean anything. There was no incentive to be the hero.
Right. There's so
So
much incentive to be the bad guy, but there's no incentive to be the, good guy.
yeah,
And
and
that's
so
I
like
even see that in games like Tree of Life. It just came out. It's kind of like another survival kind of build your town thing, but people are still complaining in that game how people are building towns and people are raiding the towns, but like once you get your house, killed, there's really not much you could do about it besides kind of like start over kind of thing.
yeah, so like there should be. I'm not saying that there should be like ban all the banned out the bandits because I like being a bandit sometimes and I like being the good guy sometimes. But have it more like an RPG feel, kind of like I'm trying to think of it. It was a mod that I used to play all the time for Warcraft 3. I think it was Half-Life or something like that. It was more or less like a Sims game that you played, and you had your bad guys and you had your good guys, and your good guys, cops or whatever, and you can go around arresting the bad guys. Um, so like there was not necessarily so much incentive, but you could actually, role play versus these games where you can still role play to a certain extent, but playing a good guy, there's no way to stop the bad guy. You can go
Right.
kill them and then they come back. It's not like you can go arrest them or put them in jail for a little while or there's no it's really more geared towards the bad guy than the good guys in those type of games. There's no counter to it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like what is I keep coming back to games to kind of wonder, who's going to be the first to really kind of innovate in that space because, while some games like 7 Days to Die, it's more focused on PvE, like they make
Yes.
zombies more of a threat, which is interesting. But I don't know if that's really because it's kind of a different game. I'm still kind of waiting for the game that, solves that or proposes a solution at least because there's Unturned now, made by that Nelson kid who it's doing pretty well on Steam. I know it gets a lot of people playing it. Still has the same problem though. People just kind of go around and shoot each other. It's kind of like a glorified Call of Duty system with RPG elements.
Yeah, see, I mean, I like shooting everybody sometimes too, like the next guy, but at the same time there's no balance to it. You have to have, yeah, you're gonna have all your bad guys. You gotta have bad guys because who always wants to be a good guy every time? But at
Yeah.
the same time, there's no punishment for being bad, and there's no real incentive to be good. So
One good thing I've seen in a survival game recently actually is Reign of Kings has a very. Have you played that?
I believe so.
It's like basically like they made chivalry combined with like Rust kind of thing. You have swords and stuff, and there's like one guy
Yeah.
who could be king. But anyway, in that game, it's interesting because you can do funny things as a bad guy, which is kind of like unusual. In most games, you can tie a rope around somebody, drag them around, put them in a cage, put them on a chopping block. At least I think that like promotes a little bit more of a social element. People don't
Yeah.
want to just kill someone; they want to have fun with it. Well, I think that's a good step in a good direction, but that game I think has its own set of problems that just kind of feels people are skeptical of the developer, and overall it just kind of feels the combat just feels like something that was almost there but not quite. I don't know if it's ever really going to succeed that well.
Yeah, there's combat's kind of hard to get into games. It takes,
Yeah, a
especially
lot of the survival games is they just have like the melee, and you just click and it smacks it like really cheaply. Even in Rust, it's horrible, and it doesn't look too much better in the Ark game that just came out, Ark Survival,
yeah,
Dinosaur Paradise.
combat in games it's really hard to get right. And then even then, if they get it right, like I played one game. It was a Korean game that was on Steam for about 6 months before Steam removed it because everybody complained because when they poured it over in Korea for their games, they have to have time limits for people to play or that.
Oh right, yeah,
So like, say you can only play 24 hours in a week.
yeah.
Well, when they transferred that game over to the US, they didn't remove that. So you
Mm.
could still only play a maximum of 24 hours in a week. So I played it on a weekend and I played for one day and I couldn't play again until next week. So it was kind of like it was really annoying because you couldn't do anything in the game. But the combat was phenomenal. It was um reactive combat or more realistic combat. So if you had a bow, you had to aim your bow and shoot. Just
Yeah.
like if the opponent had a bow and they shot you, you could dodge to the left or right and it wouldn't track you. As where almost every MMO that you play, it doesn't matter how good you are at dodging, you can just stand there and keep button mashing.
Right. Well,
Because if
that's
you
what I was telling you that that's how WildStar plays too, but you didn't really seem to be interested in that at all.
well, I didn't really I don't know. I'd have to try it really and
Right.
install it. But yeah, and then not only that, but like the AI for the game too was also reactive.
Mhm.
Um, so they kind of not really well reactive, but they moved. So like if you just stood there and tried to punch the same spot, it wouldn't be there. It would strafe left and right, you know,
Interesting.
or roll around you or whatever. So
Right.
it made combat a lot more fun and entertaining
And you don't
than
remember what it's called?
no,
I
like I
guess
said, I played it for 24 hours about 2 years ago.
I
So
guess
I
it left
just
less
remember
of
the
an
combat.
impression though, huh?
Yeah, I remember the combat. The combat was phenomenal.
Yeah. A lot of people are like kind of always talking about Terra and that combat too, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I think WildStar is my favorite game if we're talking about combat and everything else. It's gonna go free to play soon, so we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, it does pretty well.
why not just create an open server somewhere? Like a small server for everybody, and then most of the people that have the free to play servers, say what was the newest one that just came out that ArcAge. Um, I played that for a while when it first came out, and they opened it up to free to play, which I was fine with. But the problem with the free to plays is they limit your experience gain. Some of them limit your level cap. Some limit your items that you can use, like Star Wars, The Force Online or whatever it was.
Star
Sorter.
Wars or Republic.
Yeah, there you go. That game you could play free to play, but you moved like 10% slower. You gained 50% less XP. You couldn't equip anything above like tier 2 weapons.
You have to go to the bathroom every 20 minutes in the game.
Yeah. So you could, yeah, but they didn't put a level restriction, so you could still get to level 50, which was the
Yeah.
cap at the time that I played.
Well, a lot of like the
Um,
free-to-play games try to make it so it's kind of like a demo. You get to try out the game and see what
yeah,
it's like, and then I think that's one interesting way of doing it. But I think WildStar at least is trying to make it so you could play most of the game and then get some extras for paying.
yeah. Well, kicking it old school, RuneScape, they did it right. The way that they have it is they have a free-to-play area, and then they
Are
have
you saying that RuneScape like that is existing right now? It's a good model.
no. Well, I
Because
wouldn't
I've heard a
necessarily.
lot of people complaining about how
I
RuneScape
I
has
haven't I
become.
haven't played RuneScape in the last since 2007, I think, when they came out with the market and they actually destroyed the entire economy in the game. I quit playing it then.
Yeah.
But before that, what they did was they had a free to play area and a pay to play area. And you could take your pay to play character on the free to play servers, but you couldn't use any of your equipment or weapons, and you couldn't sell any of the pay to play equipment in the free to play realm. So you'd have to use free to play weapons in the free to play realm if you wanted to use your weapons.
Right.
Um, and then you also couldn't sell or trade them to other players in the free to play world. You had to be in the pay to play world to sell your paid items, your pay to play items. And you actually got incentive, which was, you got a bigger area. You could level all the same, but in the pay to play, you got better hunting area, you got better leveling areas, you got better items, better item drops and stuff like that. But when you played on the free to play servers, it didn't feel like, or not League, World of Warcraft, where you have to grind constantly, or SWOTR, where where you literally had to grind in order to get anywhere, and then you still couldn't use any of the weapons. Like you could see them, but you couldn't touch them.
Yeah.
As where in like RuneScape, you can't even see them. They don't exist in the free-to-play servers. So that's one thing that I like about that type of model for the free-to-play to pay to versus the pay-to-play. Pay-to-play stuff stays on pay-to-play servers. Free-to-play stuff stays on free-to-play servers.
Right. Yeah. I think just the issue it's they're always trying to figure out how they can incorporate people into spending money as much as they can. Pretty much that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing. I mean, what's the best way to get somebody to pay for your server if they don't notice that they're missing anything? They're not going to give you money. But if you force people, hey, guess what? You want to play with your buddy who's a pay-to-play member and you're free to play? You better pay up, or else you'll watch him out-level you in 5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, like he's already level 50 and you're barely level 5.
Right.
So, there's I don't think it's really that great of a business model. It's a great way to make people spend money, but I don't think it's really. I lose a lot of interest and trust in companies that do stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, it seems like we've got a lot to a lot of footage today, so I
Yeah.
think that will be good for our first podcast. There, I think what is that like 40 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Say bye.
Bye.